This is the moment I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for, to see my custom tailwheel suspension and see how it works on my Kit Fox. So I designed this, never have done in CAD ever. I watched about 2 hours of YouTube videos, downloaded free CAD because I'm too cheap to pay for a program, and then started at it. It took me about a month and probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6 different renditions of it. So with the help of Wiley, he got a lot of this stuff milled out on his own machines, and then I sent some other stuff off to Send Cut Send, and everything actually fit together really well. Like I'm actually really proud of it. So let's put it on and see how this thing works. First, some static drop tests, things like that. Then we're gonna head out up to a lake bed just north of here and try it out up there first, just to kind of, I don't know, if something goes wrong, I'd rather do it up there than at this airport or something. It'd be less embarrassing. Also, I know a lot of you guys have been asking, am I going back to Papua New Guinea? And I'm gonna cover that on the flight up to the lake bed, which I'm probably gonna do tomorrow. So if you wanna know if I'm going back to New Guinea and when that might be, stay tuned till I'm flying up there and I'll let you guys know. Good news, I can fit my hand all the way down in there. Now let's see if I get my hand down in there and reach underneath at the same time to get that. I wonder, I can make my trim go all the way up and then I might be able to stick my hand down right through there. Let me try that. That works so much better. Now I can stick my hand down in there so much easier. All right, so this bolt is the front bolt, and it is too long by like 3/4 of an inch. And a lot of my other hardware is just a tiny bit too short. It really needs to be another 1/2 inch longer and really probably just cut off. I mean, ideally it'd be better to have like something with a cotter pin in there, but I mean, the original doesn't even have a cotter pin. So I need to go back to Ace Hardware and exchange this hardware for some different hardware. So let me go do that first and we'll be right back. All right, I was able to go down to Ace Hardware, switch out the hardware that I needed, but they did not have exactly what I needed. You see, I needed 3¼ inch bolts and they only have 3.5, 3 or 3.5. And I could cut these down, but these aren't grade 8. So these are kind of a temporary thing. So I'm probably just gonna order what I actually need online because then I can get exactly what I want. These will work until I can do that. Also, the original mount here, let me show you. These actually had 3/16 inch holes in them. I mean, look how tiny these, they're so tiny. So it was a mistake on my part, but I actually made them 1/4 inch. So I actually just drilled those out to be 1/4 inch so that I could put bigger hardware in there to begin with. I just think it would just be a little bit stronger, and that way there's not as much play in this bracket right here. I also had to get a new one of these bolts, just about a 1/2 inch shorter. So the mounts are going on now. So far, everything is working fine and as planned. I don't know if I showed you, but along here, these two brackets, they have a slot. I got the idea off the T3 tailwheel, and I figured, hey, if they're doing it, then it's probably, there's a reason why, and it is. It's just because it's like, you know, every plane's gonna be maybe potentially just a tiny bit different because these are experimental. And you might have to adjust it, you know, a 1/16 of an inch or something, so you don't have to make these holes bigger. So I'm glad that I did that. I got it all finally to, it's like a certain sequence that you have to put it on. You put the back one on, and then the front, but then you have to put the side plates on to make sure that the holes are all lined up. But I think we're good to go now. I've got these little nylon washers here. I've got oil-infused steel bushings that I've pressed in. This is just aluminum, all this is aluminum, but I've got steel bushings here, here, and through this back piece here. But then I have nylon bushings, or just washers really, right here, just where it's going to be rotating. So let's see if we can get that all kind of put in and then start tightening everything down. And now for the tail wheel. So what this tail wheel is, it is the Tundra Light. I'll leave a link down below if you have an experimental. The reason I went with this is because, I mean, look how beefy it is. This thing is massive. It's 10 inches by 4.25, I think, by 4 inches wide, 4.1 inches. I put 50 pounds of pressure in it. I didn't really know what to put in it. Its max was 50, and I went online and other people were putting 50 in their tail wheel. Otherwise, I guess it shimmied a little bit. So, this is a lockable tail wheel as well. I don't know if I'm not gonna hook it up yet. So, let's get this thing mounted. I might have to tighten it up a little bit. I did tighten it to what I felt was maybe good enough. So I'll show you later. Let's get it on. All right, let's get this thing set down. That's what I thought actually might happen. My spring rate is not strong enough. It's a 1,000-pound spring, but because it's cantilever, it actually needs to be quite a bit stronger. So I can actually get different springs. I also might be able to adjust it so that it already has some preload on it. I don't know. I really don't know anything about springs. So I might have to get a different spring to be able to actually hold it. I mean, this thing only weighs 68 pounds on the tail before I change this out. I weighed it all. It was 11.8. And this one, I actually don't know. It's fairly heavy. I'll throw it up on the screen after I weigh it. So it still needs to come up about, let's take a look closer. All right, so yeah, you can see the spring is completely compressed all the way here. It's a 1,000-pound spring. It doesn't hit here, which is good, even fully compressed. But let's see how much movement I have. All right, so I'm looking at right now 15 inches off the ground, fully compressed, okay? 19.5. So that means it has 6.5 inches of clearance, which is what I think I was expecting 6 inches because of the throw. So these Tundra tires are 29-inch tires, Air Streaks. They raise the front 6.5 inches off the ground when I put those on. So with this fully all the way up, it raises the back 6.5 inches from what it was. So the angle of attack will be what it was originally with the small tires up front and the small little tail wheel in the back. And that was one of the reasons I actually designed it as a cantilever, because I was gonna get the T3 tail wheel because that's what everybody has. So I just assumed that that was great. But then after actually talking to quite a few owners of them, they would always blow the shock out because it's like a 1-to-1 ratio, where this is like a 4.5-to-1 ratio basically. Basically the T3 can compress too much and then blow the shock out pretty quick and easy if you're going off-roading like I hope to. I'm gonna try to adjust the spring a little bit. If that doesn't work, I'm gonna have to get a stronger spring, so. Hey, that helped. Still not quite enough. So tightening the preload on the spring did help. I think 1,500 pounds might do the job though. I think that's the only other size spring I can get. So if I get a 1,500 pound, tighten it down, then it should stand erect the whole time and then not bottom out. That's that's the hope. I'm back. It's the next day. I'm gonna go try it out anyways. I know I tightened up. Like I said, I tightened that spring up as much as I can. You can see that it's almost all the way up and pulling it down. So there's really not much, but it can go up and down fairly easy. But I honestly don't even care if it bottoms out because it's not gonna be any worse than what was before. I mean, I had a bar before with a tiny wheel. This has air in it and a tiny bit of suspension. Also, I've got a camera set up right here, one underneath there. So in case something does go wrong, I'll at least see what goes wrong before it rips off my rudder. All right, well, let's get out of here and go try it out. All right, we've got 2 airplanes in the pattern right now, I just heard. I saw one of them landing on 03, and I just heard their other one is using
2-1, so for which one they're using?
Travis 7 Golf Mike, short final, runway 3.
Alright, there we go. Alright, so one thing I do notice already is it does not steer as well because it does not have those springs back there anymore.
Human traffic, Sherman 9585 Lima, crossing midfield, downwind for runway 3, full stop, Kingman.
Kingman traffic, experimental Kit Fox 24 Kilo Bravo, taxiing from Shade Hangars 03 for northbound departure. Alright, well it's definitely a lot harder to taxi. It wants to just pull off to the right. I'm not really sure why. Oh, there we go. So, we'll take it easy on the first takeoff, just in case it does want to pull off to the side or something like that.
Human traffic, Grumman 9585 Lima, entering left downwind for runway 3, full stop, Kingman.
And Kingman traffic, Kit Fox 24 Kilo Bravo, entering the runway 03 for northbound departure, Kingman.
Kingman traffic, Pilatus 7 Golf Mike, we're turning left downwind at 5,000 for Kingman traffic.
Alright, there's the two airplanes both in the air. Flaps, pump. Yeah, it does not want to turn left very easy. Alright, well, let's get going.
Human traffic, Grumman 9585 Lima, turning safe for runway 3, full stop.
There we go. Breaking our flaps out. I found that it was easier, it got the tail off quicker because the tail wheel, well, when it was sagging, I could feel it, like it kind of come up on its suspension. I was able to get the tail off a lot quicker.
Human traffic, Grumman 9585 Lima, short final for runway 3, full stop.
And Kingman traffic, Kit Fox 24 Kilo Bravo upwind at this time will be making a left-hand turn to the north. But we're only going to go probably maybe 1,500 feet AGL just because we're heading up to the lake bed just north of here. I figured it'd just be probably a little bit safer to maybe just head up there and, well, obviously less busy. And I can do a lot of touch and goes really fast up there because I can just take off and land, take off and land. Again, this thing, I know it's going to bottom out. I'll show you when we land why I'm not really concerned about that, because in the design, it actually hits the bolt that holds the back of it. So it's actually hitting the bolt. It's not actually bottoming the spring out. And that was some of the reasons why I designed it the way I did.
Traffic, 7 Golf Mike, we're at 5,000 on the overhead for runway 3, Kingman traffic.
Kingman traffic, Grumman 9585 Lima, clear of the active. Kingman.
So when I was looking at the T3 tail wheel, which is what I was actually going to get, that was one of the concerns or complaints, I guess, that a lot of the pilots had. Is, and I went around looking at everybody's, and everybody's gas or the oil shock was all blown out because basically it would just bottom it out and they didn't have a stop on it. So the way this is because it's a cantilever, it's like a mountain bike shock base. It is a mountain bike shock, but the way the suspension works is like a mountain bike. And it has a stop on it, so it actually hits a stop before it actually blows out your shock, which I feel like is a little bit better. It's just a bolt hitting aluminum, so it's not going to hurt anything. Let me just pull my power back now. It also gives it a lot more travel. So with the T3, from what I can tell, it's just like a 1-to-1, so it really does not have much travel before it can bottom that shock out.
7 Golf Mike, center right brake for runway 3 on the overhead.
But the way that this is designed is I actually have about 6.5 inches of travel all the way down before it hits the stop. So I think it's around a 3-to-1 ratio. So it's right around that. It's a tiny bit more than that from what I can figure out. But basically, so what that means is I have 3 inches of travel for every 1 inch of compression on the spring. Whereas
traffic, 7 Golf Mike, short final, runway 3.
Like the T3 would have like 2 inches of spring compression and 2 inches of movement basically before, or very close. It might be a little bit different, but very close to that. So this is going to give me a lot more travel and be able to just hit a lot bigger things without it damaging the shock or completely bottoming out. All right, so I told you guys I would explain what my plans are returning back to PNG. So if you're still watching, obviously you're interested. I've had probably hundreds of questions over the past 6 to 8 months. Are you returning to Papua New Guinea? What's your plan? things like that. And to be honest, I wasn't really sure at first. Well, let me just go with this. Living in another country other than your own home country, it can be very wearing. It sounds very romantic to go live in another country, and especially Papua New Guinea, as beautiful as it is. But living outside, you know, away from family, away from friends that you have here in the United States, we have friends there as well. But there's a lot of things that you give up as a missionary living overseas. And so, you know, just coming back to the United States after 4 years of being gone, it's kind of like, man, I feel so comfortable. Like, you actually feel like a stress, an internal stress kind of actually just being like let off you. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's the best I can explain, is like, you don't really realize it's all like the internal stresses that you don't even really know that you have living in a culture that's not your own. You're just a lot more aware, you know, there's a lot more theft, things like that over there. So you go to town, I'm like constantly watching my wife, things like that. So anyway, we are returning to Papua New Guinea this summer. But there's a caveat. I actually have to raise up support sponsors to be able to go back. I know this is like a completely foreign concept for most of you guys, but I don't get paid by my mission to do what we do. We actually live off sponsors. And I haven't shared this really on this channel. We've had this channel now for almost 3 years. And the whole purpose of this channel was never to be like talking about what I do there as a missionary pilot. It's been an avenue for me to, for one, make videos. I absolutely love making videos, and this was the easiest way that I can make videos, is through something that I'm already doing every single day. And I want to be able to share my passion for aviation and get other people enthused about it, and share a side of aviation that I would venture to say most, if not all, have never seen, flying in Papua New Guinea operationally into bush pilot kind of stuff. So really the way it works is individuals that have a heart for missions, they want to be a part of something that has kingdom value. I know that there's probably a lot of you that maybe disagree with me. That's completely fine. But I feel led to go be a part of sharing the gospel, what's in the Bible, to people that have never had a chance. But for us to do that, like I said, we have to raise up sponsors. We still need to raise up about 30 more sponsors for us to be able to go back. Basically what it is people sponsor us through our mission organization, Ethnos 360. That's who I work for. I really haven't mentioned that really at all. But we work for Ethnos 360 Aviation. You can check out their website if you'd like to see what we stand for, what we believe. But really, my whole job over there, almost, well, not all the flights, but a lot of the flights that I'm doing, that I'm sharing with you guys, are actually flights for missionaries or different projects, things like that. For as a pilot, my job over there is to be really a lifeline for our missionaries that live out there, because they're living out there for 10 to 12 years, really devoting their lives, and I'm there as a support team for them, being able to fly them their food, fly their kids in and out for school. I'm an ambulance for them. That's really my job. If you're interested, I've actually made a couple videos that go into a little bit more depth. If you're interested in finding out more, check out the links down below. There's 2 videos. One's just my testimony, just like why I felt led to go into missions, and the other one is just like what exactly is that we do. So I'll leave it at that. If you're interested in finding out more really on how you can become a partner and what we're doing, they're right below. Looking ahead, the lake bed that I wanted to go to is maybe not going to work today. I didn't actually think of it. It is a dry lake bed when it's not rainy, but we had a ton of rain the last few days. It rained all night long, and I'm seeing water, standing water out there on the majority of it. So it might be too muddy. I know that it's kind of a clay out there, and I don't want to land and then just like completely clog everything up. So if that's the case, I have plan B, which was actually what I was going to do for a second video, because I kind of wanted to come up here first before I just went completely off airport. But there is another field, a BLM field that I've already checked it out. Well, actually in my last video with my wife, we went and looked at that. So that is an option. Actually, I just thought of this. There's actually a dirt airstrip up here, not much further. I've never seen it. I've never taken you guys there either. Maybe we could stop up there. I'd feel a little bit more comfortable landing on something like that first, before just going out to a field. I think that's probably a little bit better, safer option. And there's a gas station up there. Yeah, so if the lake doesn't work, I'll go find it. Someone told me about it, so yeah, looking at this, maybe on the other side, maybe on the kind of the north end of it, but everything else looks really wet. And I really don't want to have to clean my plane off either. Man, I'm thirsty. I've shared with you guys before these little things. These are so handy in the airplane. This is called Leading Edge. They've got a couple different ones. My favorite's these red ones because they're more of like has caffeine and things like that. Where the other ones, it's a blue one. I have some in the back. I just keep them in my plane because they're so handy. Like I said before, I like them just because it's a good way to be able to hydrate myself without having to drink a lot of water. Because I do not like having to stop. Oh yeah, I have autopilot. Forgot about that. Now if you're wondering, Ryan, what are you going to do with your airplane if you go back to Papua New Guinea? Are you going to sell it? Are you going to store it? That's a good question. More than likely, I'm going to sell it. I hate to say that. Oh no, that's dry over there. And it's dry over there, but it looks pretty dry over here. Yeah, I'm probably going to sell it because storing something like this for 3 years, even if it'd be here in Arizona, it would be in a hangar or it'd be in a container, one of the two. The wings fold up so I can put it in a container. I have some options, but I really hate to because I've put a lot of work into it. I'm putting Aero LED lights on it, strobe lights, tail. I put a decent amount of money into it because I thought I was going to keep it for years to come. This is a pretty cool bottle too. All right, let's do autopilot off. Okay, it looks dry over here. Let's go here and then over there. It's really long and dry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's no way I'm gonna be landing on there. Yeah, I would probably just stink instantly. So I got a power line up here. I know. I've been out here quite a few times, so I know there's nothing out here in the actual lake bed itself. Let's get some flaps in. Yeah, it looks like it was previously wet. Like it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look like it's like dry. This is looking better up here, but it's still, I have no idea how soft it is. This whole section looks really nice. There was a good section back there that I flew over that was nice. I'm gonna want to land to the north. There was a little bit of wind out here, so let me head back around. This whole section looks pretty good as well. All right, let me head back around and then we'll go back right where we were. All right, let's just get our fuel selectors back on, our harnesses. Who knows what's gonna happen? I don't think anything's gonna happen, but you just don't know. I feel like this is more robust than what I had back there originally, so I'm not really worried in that respect. All right, we'll come in at 50. There's really no wind. I'm gonna come in at 53 miles an hour today. We'll just set it down softly on wheels and then set it down, and we'll go from there. Go full flaps now, get it trim. Wow, it's a lot smoother, a lot smoother. And it gets up off the tail a lot faster. Wow, that was a lot smoother. Usually it's like with lots of noise and stuff. All right, let's go try. That was actually way smoother than I was actually expecting it to be honest. Not sure if it's bottoming out or not, but maybe partly because I have the Tundra light tailwheel as well, just having a little bit of air and bigger, kind of rolls over everything rather than a tiny little pizza cutter that just slices into everything. But let's try like a 3-point. So I weighed up the other one, and the difference between this one and my old one was 5.2 pounds. Now if you're thinking, oh, that's really not great, having extra weight on your back. Well, actually, kind of is, because I couldn't do a 3-point landing before without dropping the flaps. Like I just didn't have enough weight in the tail. It was just really hard to get it back down there. And having the yoke the stick all the way back. but the ground felt firm, so that's good. All right, so let's try a 3-point. Oh yeah, that's a lot easier to get down. Oh my goodness, this is so much smoother. I mean, I can't even explain how much smoother it is. It's insane. It's like, feels like butter, where before it was like, cringeworthy, you know? I'm really excited to see. I love making things like this. I made a turbo kit once for one of my cars years ago, and it worked. I was so proud of it. This is one of those things, like, it actually works. And then, like, there's a couple adjustments that I think I would like to do. This is way more fun than just going out and buying something, you know what I mean? All right, well, I'm gonna try that again, and then we'll just land here. And I think I might want to go land out at the at that field that I was telling you about. It's a lot rougher. It's only maybe 15 minutes away, I think, from here, maybe 20 at most. There's really no wind out here, so I'm just gonna land in this way. Let's go full flaps now. Past this wet stuff. Where is the dry stuff? We'll land here, stop, jump out, and assess what it's taking. Take a look at it and see, yeah, if anything's happened to it or anything. Waiting till it's past this muddy section. All right, there we go. All right, let's shut down and get out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't say soft. It's still pretty hard. And let's go take a look at it. All right, let me show you what I was talking about, how it can't actually bottom the spring out. You can get this bolt through right here, and this bolt actually hits the inside of this before this spring and everything compresses all the way down. So that's what I was talking about. So I'm not worried about anything because it's just gonna hit that on both sides actually, as well as this right here. It hits on both sides. So this is all grade 8 hardware except for these silver ones because they didn't have them in stock at Ace Hardware. These are all 3/8, and then these are 5/16, all these ones are, and then there's like a really big bolt underneath this right here. So it fits like really nicely into a slot underneath there. So that's a 10-inch wheel right there. I said that earlier, but so right here, this little red knob right here, that's to adjust the rebound, like how fast it lets the shock go back out. So it's fine, right? I've adjusted it a little bit on the ground, but I positioned it on top in case I were to have like a rock or a stick or something flick up. I don't want it to be able to hit that and knock it off or something like that. So that's so exciting that it works and how smooth it is. Even in its non-finished form, I should say, with the shock not being, or the spring not being the right spring rate, it still does work, and it's still massively smoother than what I had on there before. Now you're probably thinking, Ryan, are you gonna sell these things? You sell everything else. Yeah, well, yeah, I do. Just because that's who I am. I love selling things. I like making things, selling them. So maybe I'm gonna make sure it doesn't rip off on my own airplane before I go let somebody else use it. I wanna get the spring rates down properly, and I wanna make it available probably for some other airplanes. I have some friends that have Highlanders as well as Cubs that would like to try it on their airplane. So the way I've designed it is I can just make new brackets for different airplanes so that it would be universal for any airplane. Right now, I've only made it specific to a 1.5-inch tail wheel. I'm not sure if all of them are the standard because I don't know, but I know that there's also 1 1/4, which is what I had before. So yes, maybe in the future I might sell it. So if you're interested, you have a Kit Fox right off the bat, or a Highlander. I know that their mounts are very close to the same, but I think it's a good option. The reason why I actually like mine more is just because it will give me 6 inches of travel, and it will never bottom the shock out, so you're not gonna be blowing shocks out like you are with the T3 if you're really going off-roading with it. All right, I'm gonna end the video here. Give this video a thumbs up if you like this. Again, if you are interested in finding out more about my ministry in Papua New Guinea, how you can partner with that, like I said, we've got to get about 30 more sponsors before we can head back this summer. Or if you just want to connect with me and find out more exactly what it is that we do, like all those details will be down below where you can connect with me personally and have any questions answered, things like that. All right, guys, again, give this video a thumbs up if you like my tail wheel, if you think it's a pretty cool invention. Leave a comment down below what you thought of it. And from here, I am heading out to a field. So be sure to watch the next video because we're gonna go try it out more of like a real life, like harder terrain kind of stuff. So thanks guys, see you next time.